when we look at why it's so important to do that, we know that someone who is traumatized, either a family or a student, needs to feel safe to be able to be in a learning environment. And if you don't feel culturally safe in an environment, just who you are already makes you struggle in that environment rather than helps you succeed, then we can see how integrating and creating with the community what our curriculums are, what our lessons are, the values that we pull from those lessons and how we do it, we can see how that can create safety for our students. You can be your full self in that setting that acknowledges who you are. And we're going to talk more about how to do this, right? So it's not about including every single culture, right? Or having activities from every single culture. It's more about the way that we are teaching things that could allow for all of those student strengths to come forward. And so I just wanted to open it up to Suzuk or Shakshani Ish in case they had other thoughts to share for this link between culture and good outcomes for our students.
I think I would like to go ahead and say that the best, when we incorporate culture and integrate culture to the highest level and degree, it doesn't even feel like we're incorporating culture, that it just feels like good teaching because it is not a barrier, but it resonates and it flows and it pulls out the background knowledge, the internal being of the person into the academic or whatever area of focus. So that is an easy piece to kind of want to compartmentalize and look at. And so I just wanted to throw that thought out there that we are incorporating culture, integrating culture, sometimes even at the highest levels in ways that doesn't even feel like it because we are reaching the person.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so from the work of Zaretta Hammond, I just wanted to bring forward this quote here. And it really fits perfectly with what you had just shared, Suzuk. But an educator's ability to recognize students' cultural displays of learning and to use cultural knowledge as a scaffold to connect with what the student knows to new concepts and content in order to promote effective information processing. So it is about using the pathways, the neural pathways that the student already comes with, to build off of those and continue to link those to the information that we want them to learn. And so one of the things that, I grew up in a more collectivist society. And so I'll talk more about that, right? One of the things that I continue to struggle with is interviews. Right? Somebody telling me I have to talk about me, just me in a setting. That's really hard. But I also live in an individualistic society, so I have to do interviews. Nobody spares me those interviews. So I have to be able to learn those things. But if someone could use, and Suzuk had a really great question that could help a student that maybe comes from a more collectivist society get prepared for an individualistic type of task. But what about asking them, what's a task that you helped with that you're really proud of, or that you helped your family with, or your community with, that you're really proud of? And I could talk a whole lot about that because it was something that I contributed to a group about. That still looks really good for me as an individual, but I don't have to come up with it in that way that creates a barrier for me. So it is really about using what the students come in with as a bouncing board and building off of that. And making sure that it doesn't get in the way, right? Because it's because it's a Western system here that we're looking at. It's not neutral. And so it already comes with some values that at times are opposite. And so we don't want students to not be successful because of that. And so moving on to the next slide, we see that relationships are so important to all of this work. We know that to partner with families, we need relationships. And when I think about culturally responsive education, I think about it as a relationship with the community. and with the values that are there, and with the norms that are there, and with the ways of knowing that are there. And so relationships are here still at the core. It's just that we also have to have a relationship with the community that our students are coming from. Go ahead,
just
Shakshani.
kind of wanted to add to that, when we're in our communities and in our spaces too, that the people who work in that community are not isolated by their occupation, but rather are become a part of the community itself. And it's a part where we're able to learn from each other what our new roles are going to be and how we can support the community, how can we support the family and the individual. And so it's a great opportunity. It's a great way to learn also from, the parents and the families themselves, and to learn new things about the land itself. And just like, it's just a beautiful community, and it's a great opportunity to be able to just be included, to be able to participate and support the community itself.
And maybe to add also the fact that when we talk of our communities, that there are many, many smaller communities within each. So whether we're in a large urban setting or even in the tiniest rural setting, it's not homogeneous in either space. It's sometimes easier to see when there are racial or ethnic differences. Sometimes it's easier to see some of the socioeconomic differences. But even in our most, whether we're looking at the broadest spectrum or the smallest piece of it, there is still the multi layers of each community that we can all relate to in many ways. So we apply that term community to many contexts.